Hey guys, Todd Vandermeid back here again for Freedom Steel, former NRA contract lobbyist, Illinois gun law guru. So, got a new take on some things today. I've been seeing some language pop up, and it made its way into the semi-auto ban that the state passed. And we've been getting reports that a bunch of this language was crafted by Everytown and Giffords and some of the anti-gun groups. And this stuff has just been kind of sticking with me. And so I'm going to call this the Democrats' new Bruin gun ban. As much as I hate using Bruin, I prefer to use New York because the case was New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, and the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association deserves credit for what they accomplished there. But let's get into this. So, in the semi-auto ban, they have these two cute little provisions. One's in Section 1.9 on the gun ban. One is on Section 1.10 on the magazine ban. And so it says that beginning 90 days after the effective date of this mandatory act of the 102nd General Assembly, a person authorized under this section to possess an assault weapon, attachment, 50 caliber rifle, 50 caliber cartridge, shall possess such items only. And in number 2, it says on private property that is not open to the public, with the express permission of a person who owns or immediately controls such property. So what's that look like? Well, so we're talking about private property. So it's not government land, not governmental buildings, parks, forests, none of that stuff. And it takes all that stuff out of the realm. So it's no public land, which could be the sidewalk, could be roads, outside, the two big ones, outside of, parks, parking lots that are publicly maintained, things like that. Okay. But then it's also private property that's not open to the public. Well, your house isn't open to the public. Let's say that you have a workplace that's not open to the public. Okay, so you run some sort of business, and you don't deal with walk-ins. Let's say you're some sort of commercial plating operation. It's not all, you don't do walk-ins, stuff like that, right? But let's do an inverse of this. So what is private property that is open to the public? Grocery stores, gas stations, gun shops, any restaurant, any retail store, anything like that. So you can't, now this language that I'm talking about here is in 1.9, which is the gun ban section. But the same language appears down in 1.10 under the magazine section. So if you have a Glock 17, so remember the magazine limit on pistols is 15 rounds under the law. So if you have a Glock 17, if you have one of the Springfield XD9s that hold more than 15 rounds, you cannot carry that magazine out in the public. You cannot carry that magazine on a sidewalk. You cannot carry that magazine. You can't drive with it loaded. Can't be in your gun while you're driving down the road. And now we're seeing this show up in a new proposed bill on banning body armor for civilians. And this is, so everybody's going, oh, okay, what are they doing? Well, let's hearken back to right after the passage of Heller and even the passage of McDonald by the Supreme Court. When they announced those court decisions, the opening phrase of Heller in their synopsis of the holdings, in the first part, it says the Second Amendment protects an individual right to possess a firearm unconnected with service in a militia and to use that arm for traditionally lawful purposes such as self-defense within the home. And because DC's ban was about handguns, everybody extrapolated that it was only about handguns. They ignored the such as component, and they tried to tie three things together. And so they tried to tie three things together. They tried to tie handguns, because it was a handgun ban in DC. They tried to tie in self-defense, and they tried to tie in the home. That Heller was only about handguns for self-defense in the home. And we've seen this in some of the other arguments that have been made in the gun cases and whatever, that they say, well, the Supreme Court never went on to talk about semi-automatic rifles, or when they talk about, well, it can only be semi-automatic rifles actually used in self-defense, which means they were deployed and either shown or somebody pulled the trigger on. They keep trying to stack this up to make it a new test. And here they are trying to say this is their new in the home. They're trying to resurrect the in the home portion of Heller. And they're trying to limit the ability of your right to keep and bear arms, your right to carry, whatever, to in the home, or they're taking it half a step farther by saying, or on your private property. And remember that as part of the new New York carry law, you can only carry into a business that openly posts concealed carry welcome. And so they've tried to flip that whole standard. And we fought that here in Illinois when the carry law was going through. Former President of the Senate, John Cullerton, was just rip shit about the fact that all these stickers are out there. And I think it was a psychological thing. I think that it just, every time they went to a school or a building or whatever, they saw that sticker and it reminded them, that big white and red and black sticker, that they lost on concealed carry. And so he hated it. He wanted to flip it. And one court in New York has already said, nah, you can't do that. You're making a presumption of private property rights for them. But this, we've seen it here in New York. We've seen it now here in laws and bills that are showing up in Illinois, where they are trying to run this narrow path and say only private property, only on your property, and not anywhere that's open to the public. So again, with the magazine ban, if you do this, well, if you have a magazine for a full-size Glock or one of these other guns that holds more than 15 rounds, then you turn around and you can't carry that on the public way. You can't, if you're transporting such magazine, it has to be unloaded and closed in a case. You can't have a spare magazine on your belt if you're carrying, a lot of guys with Glock 15s, with Glock 19s with their 15-round magazines use 17 mags for spares. Pick up those extra couple of rounds just in case. And with that, this is the new Democratic curtailment of Heller. They are trying to pin this into a box. We've seen it, post New York. We've seen it in the Kerry stuff. We've seen it in the oral arguments on bootstrapping self-defense into being the test, which it's not. It's for traditionally lawful purposes, such as self-defense within the home. It's not a limiting phrase. It's just an enumerated example. And so this is the new Democratic work around their new ban. And we've seen it in a bill introduced by Representative Hirschauer, I believe, where they're using this exact same language for people that presently own types of body armor and trying to outlaw body armor. I mean, it's already illegal to use body armor in the commission of a felony in the state of Illinois. That isn't good enough. They're trying now. They don't like the idea that people like you or I have access to and can obtain and use body armor. And when I'm teaching classes, I wear it on the range a lot of times because of some of the things that we're doing, some of the classes that we're teaching on. When you're working around a lot of guys in movement drills and they're, it's live fire. And if you've never been around some of these other people, I don't know who they are. So as a safety measure, yeah, I wear body armor at the range when I'm teaching a lot of times. So with that, this is one of the new pieces that's coming out as we see how the anti-gun lawyers and anti-gun legislators try to find workarounds and go back to a pre-Heller day. So that's my take on this. You're going to see this language popping up in a lot more places, and I think it's going to get struck down because Bruin said it was, New York said it was you have a right to carry a gun out in public. Moore says you have a right to carry a gun out in public. They're going to try to phrase these as regulations, not bans, because when they get categorical bans and stuff, they run into big problems. But they're getting cute, and I think their cuteness is going to cause them more problems at the end when this all shakes out. So, boys and girls, as always, please like, subscribe, smash and share that. Copy and paste the link and post it around on social media and stuff like that. We're going to try to keep knocking out stuff and get through the invariable stack of stuff that we have here to keep you guys informed on 2A issues. And with that, as always, frag out.